I want to talk to you today about friendship. You may have a lot of friends, you may have no friends. In my life, I've seen my friends come and go and make new friends as well. The readings that the church gives us today, I think, give us a little bit of direction as to what true friendship is. One quote that I've always loved by C.S. Lewis says, "Friendship is born at the moment when one man says to another, 'What, you too? I thought no one else but myself.'" And I remember this when I was, 13 or something. Here I was with my iPod listening to Led Zeppelin, thinking, oh, this is the greatest music ever. And then one day I sat next to somebody on the bus and I was listening to Zeppelin, and I could see on their iPod they were listening to Zeppelin. I took out my AirPods and I said that very thing. "You like them too? No way." Now, this is just a small, insight into true friendship, but I think at the very core, that's what the barrier of entry is for most people. And I want us to think about just briefly two things when it comes to real friendship. What I see and what the readings give us today an insight on is there's usually one way that we could find friends. The first that I would propose is affiliation. Affiliation. This is this idea of what C.S. Lewis was saying was, looking at somebody else and going, "You too, me too, we should be friends." What this affiliation is around is usually some sort of common idea or common theme or something like this. It's, you love cars, I love cars. You love Led Zeppelin, I love Led Zeppelin. But even deeper, to be a little bit more serious here, it does get into a little bit of a tribalism mentality. Not so much a love for a common idea, a shared value, or anything like this, but more of a common identity. We see this a lot. A group of entrepreneurs getting together. Israel, Palestine, those for Israel, those for Palestine. It gets real serious really quick. Our friendship is usually found in our security around other people who think the same as us or who identify as the same as us, right? It's this affiliation. It's who else in the world loves this band, this music, this artist, right? You can go that way. Or you can go, who else in the world has switched on to the idea that this way to vote or this way of being or this way of existing is the right way, right? As you can see, it starts to get violent really quickly because with this idea of a friendship that is affiliation, I would propose that you miss the point of friendship. You miss that you don't actually love the other person, but you love the topic or interest or the identity so much that finding other people to associate with, to affiliate around that identity is where the friendship is found. However, it just falls short because at best, you're loving this thing, but you're not loving the other person. By the way, it's really easy to love somebody who agrees with everything you say or who's completely affiliated with all your ideas. Super easy to love that person, obviously. But you don't actually love the person because as soon as they change their ideas or as soon as you change, which happens, how often have you lost a friend because you've changed or they've changed? It's because the friendship was centered around a common theme or a common bond or a common life stage. You didn't have a friendship that transcended affiliation, you see. You don't actually love the other person. That's the problem. The other thing that I see is you never actually love the other person, but moreover, you actually just loved yourself. It's sort of when somebody says, "Oh, I really, really like her. I really want her or love her," or anything like this. I really love her. It's not so much that you really love her. It's that you really like them and you really love yourself. And that's what this friendship around affiliation is associated with, okay? So friendship around affiliation. On the other side of the coin is a friendship around disaffiliation. I would argue we see this type of friendship way more than we ever have post-COVID, post-internet era. This is a bond around rejecting certain ideas, rejecting common ideas, rejecting sort of topics. In other words, you're associated not so much what you're for, but what you're against. And to go a step further, it's not just around a bond around ideas that you disagree with, but it's disassociating from those ideas and in turn disassociating from the people who agree with those ideas. I could never love somebody who voted for Trump. I could never love somebody who supports Biden. Pick your candidate. I could never, ever associate or love somebody who thinks that Israel has a right to exist. There is no way that I will ever support the Palestinian people and those who support them. There's no way. You hear this all over the place. In that anger, or maybe even in your mind, the sort of righteous indignation, the thing that you believe to be, I am closely affiliating with what I believe to be true. I'm associating with others who agree with me. What is it? What's the problem with that? It's at the expense of somebody else. In other words, the only way that you can exist in that affiliation, in that love, in that friendship, is if the other person is demonized, is if the other person is cast off. In other words, if they never existed in their position, you would never have friendship. You would never have love. You would never have any sort of common identity. Me being somewhat of a libertarian politically, I can get a glimpse into this. There's those who are for something and those who are against something. Are you for the current thing or are you against the current thing? How do you have a friendship and a love that transcends the for and against? You see, forget any of that. It's a lonely time right now to be alive. The internet has distanced us, and we have found ourselves either in the affiliation camp, I agree with these people, and these are my people. But the problem is, as we know, you never actually love the person, you end up just loving yourself. Or you've put yourself in the I disassociate, I disaffiliate camp. I am against these people. I have found my tribe who are also against these people. It's not real love, it's not real friendship because it's at the expense of another person. You see, both are inadequate, and you can't have a healthy blend of both. What these readings tell us is that real friendship is love. It's love, not affiliation and not disaffiliation, not one to love yourself and not one at the expense of another person, but real love that transcends affiliation and disaffiliation. In our readings here, the first one, we see that there are a group of people, namely Jews, where the Holy Spirit fell on them. Fell on who? Fell on the Gentiles, the ones who weren't Jews, the people far off. They were all thinking, how in the world is God showing favor to these people who don't deserve it? I deserve it. I'm of the covenant line. How in the world are they getting mercy? They don't deserve it. I deserve it. You see, that's not love. That's not friendship. In the first reading, it says, in truth, I see that God shows no partiality. He looks at every individual and sees them as an individual, not the camps, not the tribes, nothing like this. And his grace and his love extends to people far off, way far off. That's the kind of friendship that we need to be pursuing. You see, I think the question we need to be asking is not so much, how can I love those who are affiliated with me, or how can I love those who are close to me who agree that we don't agree with them? I think the first move is, how do I become friends and love the person that I could never love? That is the window to true friendship. If you can have a friendship that transcends affiliation and disaffiliation by entering in through a door by saying, how do I love the staunch liberal who I would never associate with? How would I love the staunch conservative who I think is ridiculously incompetent and doesn't think correctly or the way I think, blah, 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 right? Enter into those spaces. You will find that you don't have a love to support that kind of love. You'll see it shatter. How can you do this, right? This isn't just about having good dialogue and agreeing to disagreeing. This is about loving the other person. And we see in our gospel reading some incredible words by Jesus. He said, love is laying down one's life for your friends. He even goes a step further and says, you are my friends. See, the God of the universe is our friend, and he's laid down his life for us. How in the world are we supposed to love others who completely disagree with us or we disagree with them? How can we find a friendship that isn't just around shallow topics or ideas or certain identities or around or at the expense of some other tribe? How can we do this? We need to learn to love those that are so far off that we would never associate with. The problem is we can't. Because the reason why we even want friendship is because back in the garden, we were in communion, in friendship with God, but we completely disassociated ourselves. We went our own way, and in turn, there was a break between mankind and God, a huge chasm. This isn't just some pious theological story. This is at the root of why it is that we see tribalism and we can't maintain friendships. It goes all the way back to the garden. See, we disaffiliated ourselves from God, therefore he disassociated with us. Our own selfishness and tribalism has kept us empty to where we cannot become friends with our Father. We cannot become friends with our Creator. We cannot become friends with anybody. You see, our sin keeps us away from him. It breaks the friendship. Yet what is in our gospel? What does Jesus do? He's on the cross. And he looks at his friends, those crucifying him, those who have abandoned him, rejected him. Not only that, but are killing him. They're saying, crucify him, crucify him. These are people that know not what they are doing, yet he is their friend. He's on the cross thinking of them, going, I'm doing this so that we can be friends again. So that we can break the Jews and Gentile thing, the Israel and Palestine thing, the Republican and Democrat thing, whatever it is. I'm here to bridge that. Not only bridge that, but so we can associate with one another and be friends. The only way to enter into that brokenness is for God himself, the creator of the universe, to enter into that in the cross. To, as he says, lay down his life. Greater love is this, is that one lays down his life for his own friends, and then he turns around and says, you are my friends. There's no way we could associate with God as friends. There is no way, as he puts it in his gospel, we can look at it as servant as master. No, not as servant as master, but as friend to friend. How is it that Jesus is our brother, our friend? How is it? Well, he laid down his life for us so that we could become his friends. I would challenge you, especially this week, look at your friends. Are they centered around shallow affiliation? Are they centered around tribalism, whether it's affiliation or disaffiliation? Do you have friendships that transcend these things? Have you made small sacrifices for your friends, not the ones that are easy to love? Have you made small and maybe even great sacrifices at the expense of your own life for those who you would never associate with? I'll tell you right now, because your Creator did that for you, as soon as you see that, you will move into a space of being willing to and actually laying down your life in some small way for somebody you would never associate with. And once that happens, you've fixed it. You've bridged this friendship gap. And only then you can kindle very true, deep, longing, meaningful friendships. And it's by his example and his death on the cross that gives us that power. I'll see you in the next one.